I need to apologize a little bit for how I look. I just came from my house that is flooding as we speak. No, actually it stopped flooding, so those of you that are married know that when you get married, you are supposed to become Emmett the Fix-It Man, or in this case, Joe the Plumber, and that's not the case in my... We had a pipe burst. We had a pipe burst. Yeah, we did the whole 9 yards. That's all the neighbors did, and they didn't have a problem, but we did, so... Hey, at 19 below, you know what? You set some records, Robert, and we broke it by 17 degrees this morning.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good record.
It was 19 below this morning?
I think that's what it was.
So needless to say, there won't be any outside activity today.
You know what? If we could get the tarp off, we might. I haven't been over there because, like I said, the last couple hours I've been dealing with the broken pipes at my house. But we've gone out if it gets over 30, and we can get the tarp off the infield. And we scrimmaged last week twice with snow in the outfield, and because you got to get your pitchers out there and they've got to throw. So it becomes kind of like you used to play in the backyard. Then you argue on whether it was a single or a double or whether it's an out or something like that. It makes it kind of interesting.
How many diving grabs did you have?
Well, we didn't let the outfielders go out there. They stood on the back edge. Todd, our grounds guy, did such a good job. I mean, the infield was nice. And then what we had excess space behind the dirt, we made the outfielders stand there. So rather than just sit in the dugout.
Coach, tell me about how your team is numbers-wise now. I know you had been down some scholarships. And how are you numbers-wise this year, and how are you overall in depth?
You know what? We're much better, to answer your question, depth-wise than what we have been. We're about a half scholarship down from having full load of scholarships, and but just having that, the ability to give about 11, a little over 11 scholarships has helped us tremendously. We have good competition at a number of positions. It's allowed us to go out and get some quality pitching that we needed to shore up our pitching, and we like our club. We like the kids. We like the quality of the kids, the character of the kids, and I think the guys that we brought in is going to add to the players that we have returning. And we're fortunate that we have some good players returning. Some of our better players are returning.
One of the things that you hear when you talk to people like Rex who know it more than you do is that you really feel good about your pitching, and you feel like the pitching is something that you'll be able to lean on during the course of the year.
Well, Robert, you know how much pitching means to me. You've been around me, and with my son, and being a pitching coach for a long time. Last year was a long season to have to live through, and because at times we would pitch well, and then our pitching at the end of the games wasn't very good. I mean, we lost numerous games at the end because we couldn't close them out. And so I think with Randy coming back, and then some kids that we have, new guys that we have coming in, it gives us a chance to pitch the entire game as opposed to maybe the first 6, 7 innings. You know what? We're not going to push it too much, but yeah, I think he could go out there and throw an inning or two, and he's playing shortstop off and on now. But you've got to protect him a little bit. I mean, he's basically right at 1 year removed from having Tommy John surgery, and so it's a lot easier if you're just a position player. He's probably would be ready to go, no holds barred. But being a pitcher, you got to take it a little bit easier.
Has the weather pushed you guys back as far as ready to go where you'd like the guys to be, for opening day next week, and does it force you guys to kind of get creative?
Well, yeah, like I said, we've been out on the football field also, and the thing that we've taken a lot of swings. We still get to pitch, but some of the things that you don't get to adjust from on the day-to-day basis is pop flies and catchers catching foul balls. I mean, that can be interesting for a while until they get used to it, and different things like that. Just the different elements that you're going to have to deal with outside, and so from that standpoint. But you know what? We haven't used it as an excuse at all. I think our kids are excited that they've worked hard. that's why I was talking to our coaches yesterday. Would you rather it be 70 degrees up until the weekend that you're going to open and it be 40, or would you rather it be 19 below a week before and then be 60 when we start? And that's kind of the way it looks. And so, kind of taking a positive approach to it.
Andrew got thrown into the fire pretty good, and you knew you know, with a guy that talented, you knew he would. How much better is he after a full year of being around you and with what he went through as a freshman a year ago?
Well, I mean, there's no better experience than to get out there and have to go through it and fight through some situations, and you're always going to have some success and failures, and you're going to get better through those. But probably one of the best things he did was stay back in Oklahoma over the summer and work out and gain some weight and gain some strength, and because he was such a slight built kid, he needed to gain some strength, and I think he's done a good job with that. And just the experience of going through the Big 12, and he not only went to the Big 12 at the start, we closed him at times, late in the year to try to get wins and stuff like that. So, yeah, I think the carryover effect is huge.
Of the new guys, and who's going to have the biggest impacts? Who are going to be the guys that we're going to learn their names first?
Well, I mean, Zach Johnson is a transfer from California Junior College that was drafted by Oakland, and you know what, Robert? Some of our biggest, and you know how this is with football, going through it with Whedon and Blackman. Some of our biggest recruits were guys that we got back in Mike Strong and Davis Duran. Those are huge right there. And then, but Zach Johnson, Gabe Weidenauer was from Junior College of Southern Nevada. Hunter Herrera is a pitcher that we think can pitch quite a bit for us. Hunter Bailey has played middle infield and looks like he can play that at a high level. And then we have numerous junior college kids that can play outfield. Jared Womack, getting him back as a catcher will also be big for us. But, there's a lot of unknowns. Good quality players, you just got to get out there and see who's going to handle it. And that's why these early games, and we've got some home games, are huge to kind of see who's going to handle it and who can't.
When Womack left, was that when he walked out the door, did you think he was going to walk back in? Was that some part of it?
No, I thought there was a good chance. And we, as opposed to staying and getting limited at bats, we felt like, and he felt like, if you go out in junior college for a year, you're going to get 100 at bats in the fall and maybe 100 or 250 in the spring, and have the opportunity to get better. And he's done that. He's gotten better both defensively and with the bat.
Up the middle, got to be strong, but catcher, shortstop, center field, you're going to have to rely on some new people to show that up.
Yeah, absolutely. And Dane Phillips also gained some valuable experience last year, and having Davis back is huge. Obviously, the pitching is big. Center field right now is probably the biggest question mark for us as far as who will go out there on opening day. And so this weekend and the entire week next week, it looks like we're going to be able to get outside, are going to be huge. And we'll still be working on combinations and some different things. But and the other thing, Robert, I forgot to mention, Andrew Heck, transferred from Duquesne, can do a lot of things. He can pitch, he can play a position, has put up numbers at the Division I level and against good people. And that, where you can't really get a transfer nowadays unless it's a program that's dropping or whatever like that, is very unusual. And so to get a quality player like that is big for us.
Yeah, and also it always helps when you can get somebody from another sport. And Nate Sorensen is a guy, just because I followed him from a football recruiting standpoint,
Right.
He was a three-sport guy at Texarkana and helped lead his baseball team to a state championship in 4A down there. What are you going to get out of him, do you think?
Well, I mean, and you kind of got to pick your words carefully when you talk about different sports, because everybody argues about this guy being a great athlete here and this and that. It's such a different. I mean, ask Brandon Whedon, how tough it is to play baseball and then come over, or Morency and some of those guys. I think that
made it look easy, but he admitted it
yeah,
wasn't.
yeah, no, exactly, and so the transition, hitting in baseball is a game that you do every day, and so when you miss so much time like he has, it's taken a while for him to get back in there. But he's such a good athlete that he's got a chance to have some power. Obviously, he can run. He just needs reps, and that's usually with a football guy. you know, you got to go out there and get some reps and get some time, and so from that transition, but he's a good athlete. He can, you know, he can obviously run, and it's going to take him a while, but he works at it.
How about first base, Coach?
Well, that's, you know, right now that's probably where Zach Johnson will play, and you know, he can play third, and Mark Ginther's in here when if Mark has to pitch for us and he's a little tired, Mark might play a little first, and Zach can play third. Zach was actually drafted as a third baseman, and so we've got some combinations and some depth where we can do some different things where we didn't have last year. You kind of went out and threw them out there, and you have to deal with what you have. But this year we can mix and match some things, and I think we have 4 guys that play positions that also will pitch some for us.
McCarthy and Chambers, those guys are back.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, all those guys are back, and so go ahead.
No.
Yeah, go ahead.
Are the guys still coming along pretty well with the new bats?
Yeah, I think so. You know, originally nobody liked them because they didn't, you know, it's just an adjustment. I mean, we went in the cages and we put the radar guns on them and took the exit speeds off of them, and they're about like a wood bat that won't break. And so, yeah, I mean, I like them as a pitching guy, and I think it's probably more fair overall. I think the scouts would like them better because as you evaluate a college player, a high school guy in the past, you've had to kind of guess, you know, what's going to happen when you put wood in their hands, and this is going to give them a little bit better idea.
Do you have a opening day starter named, or do you know guys that are definitely at the top of the rotation so far?
You know what? It'll either be Brad Probst or Andrew Heaney. I talked to him yesterday about it, or 2 days ago before the snow hit, and you know, it'll be one of those 2 guys.
Frank, I'm curious about the bats. I mean, is the sweet spot, I mean, how does it compare to wood when you have a smaller sweet spot on a wood bat, or is it just dulled so that no matter where you hit it with these, you're just not going to get the same pop?
Well, you know what? I mean, the sweet spot's smaller, and they needed to do something, Robert, because I guess it was 2 years ago, there was a bat out that, and Andrew Heck is interested in getting him from another university. They took their bats, and he told me they put towels on them and then drove over them in their cars, and it would break down the core of the bat, and then it was like hitting it with a tennis racket. You know, it had a spring effect to it. And so something needed to be done. And I think softball is going through this now, like a year later than we are. They're going to have to they're doing some different things because people are doing different things with their bats. But it needed to be some equality. That's the one thing that everybody says, well, you go wood bats. Well, if you go wood bats, you know, what am I going to do? I'm going straight to Brett and get us Major League wood, you know, as opposed to ordering it, you know, and getting bulk from, you know, that a bunch of college. So wood is not always equal either. I mean, the quality of the wood that you have and stuff like that. And so I like the new bats. I like the new specs that go along with it. I think it's fair. We went back-to-back home runs in a scrimmage the other day that, you know, Dane hit one, I think, off the scoreboard, and then Luis Uribe hit one off the net, and like back-to-back pitches. And so, I mean, if you square it up, it's going to go.
How would you describe this team, Coach, offensively? Do I have to create, or?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're going to have to do something. I mean, you're not going to sit back and just hit home runs, and because we joked about with the new bat specs that we might have to charge more in our home run club per home run, you know, to make up the money difference, you know, with our donors. But no, I think you're going to have to be able to bunt. You're going to have to run and pick your situations. The other thing, I mean, you're going to have to be able to slow down the running game with other people. Your pitchers are going to have to be in tune to it more. Interesting is that you're going to have to throw better from the outfield. You're going to have to be able to go first to third. The base running becomes, you know, important. And so there's a lot of different aspects to the game that's changed that I think is probably a positive.
Walks are even more important.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And you know what we found? We started off the fall with last year's bat. Then we couldn't get our new ones in yet, so we went with wood, and then we finally got our new bats in. And as you go to wood and the new bats, you know, the pitchers weren't near as afraid to throw it over the strike zone or in the strike zone as opposed to before when if you threw it down the middle, you know, it could land 500 feet away. And I think they probably handled the strike zone better because of knowing what the situation was.
Talking a little bit about the schedule, the thing that I found really interesting is you've got those series late in the year, along with the Big 12, where you go to Columbus, you play TCU. What's the strategy? Is that just trying to make sure that at the end of the year you got an opportunity to get the committee's attention? Because those are attention-getting series.
Well, somewhat, but as you know, Robert, it's hard to get people to come to Stillwater and play. And so, you know, we're fortunate with TCU that our off weekend matched up with theirs. And Ohio State, we're going there midweek so we can get them back to Stillwater for a 3-game series. And so, you know, you got to do some different things. Plus, when we go to Ohio State, we're out of school. And so a Tuesday, Wednesday series, other than the expense, you know, it's not that big a deal. You know, scheduling, it shows you how smart I am. We scheduled to go to the Metrodome knowing that we would get to play regardless of weather, and then the dome falls in. And so, you know, because the way our schedule is condensed now, you know, a couple years ago they took a month off our season, and so to travel somewhere and then not get to play is not a good thing. And so, you know, we make the commitment to go up there, and then, but they, you know, Minnesota's done a great job of basically transplanting the tournament in Tucson, Arizona. And, you know, we're going to go down there. We get to use one of the spring training sites that they used to have for the Diamondbacks, and it's going to be a good situation. They've made kind of a bad situation a good one.
Coach, talk a little bit about the Big 12 as you see it this year.
You know what? I think the Big 12 is going to be really good. I think the pitching will be similar to what it was in 2005. Maybe not quite that level. It's tough to compare that, but Max Scherzer and Joba Chamberlain and Brian Dunsing and some of those guys that are now in the major leagues. I think we have some guys that have the ability to pitch in the major leagues in our conference this year, and so I think top to bottom it's going to be pretty good.
You're a native, so is there some nostalgia for you with Nebraska and the series? I think he's up in Lincoln, isn't it?
Right.
Hawk?
Yeah, I don't know that there is. I mean, it's being from Nebraska, that didn't surprise me, that move, to be honest with you. You know, of going to the Big Ten, but you know what? It's been so cold the last few times we've been up there. I'm not, you know, I'm kind of glad to see. You know, it's like Iowa State. You know, those two places are tough to go in you know, March to play in conference weekends.
Coach, how long did it take you to get over the final results from last year with your team?
Oh, we're still not over it. You know, players are a lot more resilient than we are, and no, I don't. You know, Rex, I've been doing this quite a while. You know, not that you ever get over those totally. You can look back and you know, think, well, this or that, but nah. I mean, it's not a life and death deal, but no, you don't forget those things too often.
Excited about this year's team, just what you guys have coming back?
I think so, because of what we have coming back, and also the, you know, infusion of new guys that have really meshed very well with you know, our old guys that were here, and because that's, you know, when you bring in as many new guys as we have, sometimes there's animosity between, you know, the old and the new, and you know, I haven't seen it that much to speak of, and so that's good. And we've got some personality on this club that like to compete and like to play, and so no, we're excited about it.
Talk about cold weather play. You mentioned going up to Nebraska and Iowa State. It's always cold in March. How do you guys adjust to playing when it's maybe 20, 15 degrees out?
Well, you know what? Well, we got it right now, and so, you know, like I said last weekend, you know, and then they've done a pretty good job. I said, here's the situation. It's what it is. We don't have any other place to practice, so we're going outside. And is it cold? Absolutely. It's really cold, but we can go places and they'll make us play in this weather, and so you need to get used to it and understand. And once you get out there, for the most part, you know, you're moving around, you're doing some different things. You kind of forget how cold it is. And as a baseball, you know, it's not like football where you have to stay out on the field, you know, and you can't, you know, they get to go back in the dugout and warm up, and then you go back again. It's probably worse for the coaches.
Yeah, but how do your pitchers have to adjust to throwing up in the cold?
You know, some of them don't like it. I always felt like it was advantageous to you because those guys don't like to hit when it's cold. And if you can get loose and you can get warm, and most of the venues now have locker rooms or some place to go. And it's kind of interesting that Nebraska is one of the few that doesn't. Maybe they did that on purpose. I don't know, but you can stay warm, and you know, like I said, it's tough to hit when it's freezing out like that. And if you can stay warm as a pitcher, you know, it's probably an advantage to you. Now your infielders, that's why you need to work quick and keep everybody involved in it.
Can you also talk a little bit about the Allie Reynolds Stadium and I think it's showing its age a little bit.
Well, it is, and you know, we know, you know, Coach Holder has addressed those type things with the athletic village, and we know some things are coming, you know, and we're excited about it. But you know, there's a lot of history in our stadium. It's a great location on campus where it's at, and so no, it's still a good, you know. It hadn't been that long ago we had a regional there with Wichita State in the finals that was packed with you know, a great crowd, and so it's still a fun place to play.
Is there anything that can be done to just renovate the stadium and not have to build a new one, or?
You know, at this point, you know, that would be a question for other people. But you know, like I said, you know, you look at Reynolds Stadium and look what we had there, you know, a couple of years ago with Wichita State, where it's standing room only, and it's an electric atmosphere. People are right on top of you, and now, like we talked about, when you go out there right now and there's a foot of snow in the outfield, you know, it makes it kind of tough. But no, I still think there's some excitement in there.
One thing you did mention earlier, you've been able to get out there and your groundskeeper, I mean, that from a playing surface standpoint, it may be in the best shape it's ever been in.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, Coach Holders has made a big push to get somebody in here that is a good grounds person, and Todd Tribble is, you know what, he is about as good as there is around. He's a pain in my neck sometimes, because you know, he would like the field to be pearl and then you never play, you know, almost to that point. But he does a really good job, and you know, they called me this morning and they're in the midst of snow removal right off the bat, and it's, you know, below zero, and so excuse me, no, he does a good job, and the people that work for him do a really good job.
After last season, was there one thing you pointed at that, hey, if we improve this aspect of the team, I'll feel a lot better about the season?
Yeah, competing on a day-to-day basis. I mean, I think that's the biggest thing for us. You know, and some of that is a talent level after a certain point. When you compete, and you get wore down, it makes it tough. But competing throughout the games and every game, that's the biggest thing. That was a disappointment to me, and so that's been a huge aspect of what we've done in the fall and in the spring is making sure that, you know what, you go out there, you give an effort every time you go out there. And we're fortunate that if you don't, we have some people that we can put in your place.
Is that what the depth is going to help with, to provide more competition for playing time?
I think so, and it gives you know, gives you more options with, you know, a Randy McCurry. You know, last year we didn't have anybody that could come even close to doing some of the things he could do. So when he went down, you know, we didn't have somebody there could pick him up or pick us up. And so, yeah, the depth provides a lot of that. And you still have some ups and downs, but when it all washes out, you know, then you'll have a person there that can handle it, and then maybe somebody right underneath him, and you've got a little more, you know, a little more depth where you can do some different things.
Have you identified another closer besides Randy?
You know what? You know, there's a kid named Marlowe that's from Navarro Junior College, and then Blake Barnes was at Howard Junior College, and you know, obviously we think Randy can do it. There's a few guys that we think can handle it, and so, yeah, I mean, and it, you know, and you need somebody in a 3-game series in a conference. You know, you might need 2 or 3 guys as opposed, you know, you'd like to have one guy that settles in, but, you know, Rex, as you know, closing in college is not like Brian Wilson throwing the 9th inning. You know, Houston Street used to throw 3 Friday, maybe 1 Saturday, and 2 on Sunday, you know, and stuff like that for me. So it's a different situation. But if you throw 3 on Friday, you're probably not going to throw Saturday. You need somebody else there, and then maybe come back and do it again on Sunday. So, yeah, it's a little bit different.
All right. We'll get the players up here and let them introduce introduce themselves.
What is this? Their wage?